Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.
My name is William McGovern. I'm the mayor for the village of Marathon. I want to thank our elected officials for being here and supporting us in, we'll say, a time of need. So if we can basically go quickly around the room in any position while you're here. Okay? We'll start with my group.
Mike Grew, wastewater and water superintendent for the village of Marathon.
Okay, Tim Bennett, owner and publisher of the Cortland Voice.
Vaughn Golden, WSKG.
Ian Mills, Fox 40. Tim Elliott, councilman for the town of Marathon.
George Wagner, county administrator.
Legislator.
Rebecca Stone, Superintendent of Marathon.
Tom Guskowski, business administrator.
Floyd Parker, DPW Superintendent, Village of Marathon.
Jackie Gillis, News Channel 34.
Patrick, I'm with Assemblyman Lamonti's office. Jeff Bishop, Senator Overacker's Communications Director.
Nick Stewart with Congresswoman Tenney's office.
Scott Chamberlain, village trustee.
Local news reporter, Connie White.
Ralph Canfield, village trustee.
Sue Mauser, Deputy Clerk.
I think we lost Laura Padbury, our village clerk, did very hard, so I'm probably taking care of business. You need no introduction, I apologize, but please.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thank you to you and everyone for reaching out. We have sort of a rare opportunity to seek direct funding for federal sources through the appropriations process in Congress, and we reached out to every municipality and every level of government in the district, including 8 counties, and we received hundreds of responses. Through that process, there was a lot of scrutiny through appropriations, and we were able to come up with a great approval so far. But I wanted to thank all of you for being here, especially here. This is we are really excited to have you here, and also to be able to make this announcement. We have Assemblyman Lamonti's been with our Senator Peter Overacker pretty much almost every week now lately. We run the tour together.
Yes, we did.
And thank you to everyone who's here. Tom, Mike, so we got you, and Central School District. Is she here?
Yep.
There you are.
Yes,
There
there
you are. And we just want to thank you for you all participating. This is an important day. We have, you know what, it's funny, in New York State, one of the things that we don't appreciate as much as other states do is our abundant water and our access to water. It's something that a lot of the western states don't have. I was just in Texas for a few days. And it's a big issue there because they don't have the access to the clean drinking water and things that we have that, you know, that we can convert to water very easily, especially in the Midwest and the West. But we are so happy that we have this opportunity to help Marathon out. And as you know, we had, and these guys are new members in the state assembly and the state legislature. I was there, but you know, New York is interesting because we're an original county with some of our infrastructure very old. And throughout the budget process for decades in New York State, a lot of this local and community money, you know, whether it's roads, whether it's water infrastructure, has gone through programs that have not been funded or have been somewhat flat over the years. And so our highway superintendent would know that you know, we are dependent on, most of our roads are local. And so our CHIPS funding has always been very, you know, very flat. We haven't invested in it the way we should. And to me, it's really important to have the water infrastructure. And this project actually was you know, really well received, and we got bipartisan support for it. So I'm very excited about that. We're at a first step. It's been approved by appropriations. We need to get this bill to the floor, and once we get it to the floor, we can then hopefully get it passed in the Senate and make sure it's attached and part of a final appropriation to get the money to Marathon to be able to invest in this new infrastructure. And so we are really grateful for you and everyone for just teaming together. I wish every one of your constituents could see you out here, and what a great job you do representing them and representing this community, because this is an important issue. Without good, clean, safe drinking water and water to operate our businesses, we wouldn't be able to thrive. And so we're grateful to you for that. And as you know, we kind of, I could get into the details, I think everybody here knows it, but Obviously, with the main break and the ability to add to the new pipe and the new system, we think that this could be a game changer for you and really bring you back to where you need to be. I submitted the application. As I said, we requested $600,000 for federal funding to build these two new river crossings to replace the northern water crossing and the very old southern water crossing. So we are excited that it's 80% of the $750,000 project, and we're excited that it was accepted. So again, it's step one. We need to get it passed on the floor, but we're working hard with appropriations to make sure that happens. We're also going to be working with appropriators in the Senate to make sure this bill gets passed, even if it's a standalone or a set aside. We want to make sure that we get this through. So we are excited about it and glad that we can help. And we would like to make sure that everyone in this room, if you have the capacity and the news media, please reach out to our senators, Schumer and Senator Gillibrand, and ask them to support this project. We need their support on the statewide level. We, of course, would like the support of everyone across the nation. So we would be grateful if you could actually advocate for us in that way as well. So I'm happy to have your tax dollars returned to you without having to be filtered through Albany. Sorry, no offense, guys. After living and working in Albany, I get a little nervous about the appropriations process in Albany, as we all should, as taxpayers. But thank you for all your cooperation and working with our team and making this a reality. We're really excited. So we would, at this point, I just am so excited that we got 10 projects approved. I can't believe we got 10, but that's great. And you were one of the top 10 out of literally hundreds. We had hundreds of requests. So that's a really good job by your staff and your people that put this together. So we congratulate you on that today, and I guess we'll do this in order. I don't know, you either Senator or wherever you want to go next. I could say we'd save the best for last, but I won't say that.
You wouldn't be lying, I can tell you that. You wouldn't be lying. Well, number one, thank you everyone for showing up and of course for inviting me to this moment. And as Congresswoman Tenney has said, we've actually traveled around quite a bit here in the last month. In fact, as I said before, I'm impressed that she still talks to me after spending that much time, because I know sometimes my wife doesn't carry on with that same way. But when it works, it's great. When it works, it's great. And this is working. I mean, this is literally working. This is literally working for the best interest of you, our constituents, and Marathon in general. And as a former town supervisor and also a former county chair of Public Works, I can tell you I understand where our infrastructures are, the challenges that are before each and every one of you. Just sometimes I used to call, we used to MacGyver a lot of things, if you know what I'm saying. We can fix it. And I see a lot of heads nodding because you know exactly what I'm talking about when we say we would MacGyver it. And with the leadership that we're seeing, of course, from Congressman Tenney for this, it's great to see. It's much needed. And again, although I didn't get a chance to have it go through as a pass-through through Albany, I fully understand getting it directly to you guys, and making it happen. And here's the other thing I'm excited about. I have probably the best partner in Albany with Assemblyman John Lamondes. It's rare when you can meet someone that you've never had an opportunity to really get to know. And I swear after about 5 minutes he was finishing my sentences. Now that only comes because I probably don't use a lot of big words, but John is absolutely fantastic in what he's done as a freshman legislator in Albany. I was really impressed with his ability to get things done. So with that, I guess we could say we'll save the best for last, right? And move this to John. So thank you.
So Mayor McGovern, thank you. All of you, thank you for coming. It's an honor to be here, and I want to make one salient comment. What often happen from the federal government right down through state senate, state assembly, local level. This is unified support for something that is critical, that everybody's recognized needs to be done. And so we're going to do whatever possible to make that happen. And I'll leave it at that. It's an honor to be working for you in this way. Most of you know that I own and operate a farm, so water matters to me, and I understand it in a different sense than most people. And I just yesterday was in different parts of the district all over the place, meeting businesses and people as a result of the storm and the flooding. And this is happening all over. And there's all kinds of terrible stories, things that are happening to people's homes, their structures, their businesses. And I am glad that with this collective, unified support that we can make a difference for you.
Thank you, I really appreciate it. And we've had tremendous flooding over the years in my region, and we have a lot of up in the upper end, and there's a lot of issues. And we have tried to fix it. It's something that not all the local governments have the ability to do that. So that's why we want to make sure that we continue to make this go through, and anything we can do to help our local governments and assist when we know that our state and some of our local governments are overtaxed and overburdened and not able to really provide some of the necessary vital resources like this water infrastructure. So with that, I want to introduce, we have our mayor, so it's your job.
So you truly are saving the best for
Unless anybody else wants to talk. If you want to talk.
There was a few bullet points that I was going to mention, but Congresswoman Tenney, I think, has already hit on that. But we'll go through this. First thing, welcome back to Congress.
Thank you. Yes.
Congratulations. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. We met last year while you were here running, and we have a friend in the Assembly. Once again, we do thank you for that. Okay. Talk about the ability of municipalities to be able to pay for these types of projects. This isn't the first crisis that the village of Marathon's had with water. We have a long history of water, having clean water problems, okay? Currently, we have debt, this small poor village has debt of $469,441 that we owe on past bonding. I don't know if I'm going to get into that because I'll be long-winded, but it wasn't all successful, okay? Our debt goes out to, one of the projects actually goes out to 2036, okay? And this is going back. Another of the bonds goes out to 2031. So the support that we're receiving and being able to help us with this funding is very important because obviously this money, or just this bond for this water main break, is just going to add on to not only this debt, but onto a long-term burden of the ratepayers for the village of Marathon, which is never going to go away. When this opportunity came up for this grant proposal, I will say I thank Congresswoman Tenney. Her staff has been terrific in working with me on making sure that the paperwork, the letters, things that we needed to go through and support this, tremendous support, and I do thank them for that. So just to give a little bit of explanation of what this water project is, and truthfully, it's only one of many that we have, but this is the one that is, unfortunately, the one that puts us in a crisis mode. December 12th of 2020, unfortunately, it seems like a lot of bad things would happen in 2020. I'm so glad we're out of that year, okay? Phones started ringing that people in the village were out of water. We recognized that there was a water break somewhere, and our worst nightmare came to fruition, and then we found that the water main break was under the river. Our wells where we currently get our clean water are on the east side of the river. We have two water mains that run under the river that provide water for the west side of the village, which also right there. So informed everybody, look at it, I'm affected by it. Good news is that 80 years ago, whomever was in this village making decisions decided to put two water mains under the river. Okay? Without that second water main, we would be in such a worse shape. We did have one of them water mains go bad. Well, that water main that went bad is the same vintage as the one that currently is supplying all of the west side of the village with water. Okay? is not only the same vintage, it was put in the same time, but it's also constructed by the same materials. So you tell me what the future life expectancy is of that one existing main. Not comfortable. Our board, we met, and this was back in December when we were confronted with this, and decided that we can't live off this one 80-year-old water main, and we need to do something. We need to go, we need to fix it. We need to replace the one that was broken, and we need to replace this one, put in new infrastructure under the river. So we hired an engineer. The engineer came in and basically laid out the plan. Jack Dotson Associates, who's out of Schenectady, New York, who Jack has worked with us on our past water problems, okay, over the years. Jack, he's very familiar with us, knows our system, and basically we approved his hiring and to get moving forward on getting this fixed. Our plan was to have this done this construction season, not have to go through another winter and have any worse parts this summer here. So, yes, clean water is life and death for people. We are fortunate to be here in New York State, or at least in the Northeast, that have a lot. Currently, a big source of water. Look at out west. Look at what's happening there with the drought and everything. But then you also look at some of the other municipalities in New York State and throughout the country that have had water, but had contaminated water, had bad water. So this is vital. It's lifeline for everybody. And we do thank you, Congresswoman, and your staff, and look forward to continuing to meet with all of our elected officials on these. And I have a stack of projects and things here. We won't take up everybody's time of the other priorities we have. Obviously, this is the number one priority. Something that has to be done. I think I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Well, anybody else would like to that you would like to have speak on the town? Or here, if they, or is it the meeting like here?
Okay. Anybody?
You don't have to. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I'll be brief. But I'd like to again thank everybody for coming. We greatly appreciate it. Sometimes in Marathon we think we're forgotten, but it's good to see you over there. One thing that I'd like to add to Mike's problems is that the state and the country, in fact, are faced with sewage treatment plants that were all constructed in the 60s and 70s, and they're all going in at the same time. So we find ourselves putting good money after bad trying to fix our aging sewage treatment plants, and in fact, we need to build new ones. And so I think if we're talking infrastructure reconstruction at the Washington level, sewage treatment plants would be a top priority, I think.
Thank you. No, I agree with you 100%. That's what our definition of infrastructure is as well. It's particularly, as I indicated, because of New York being so old, and in many ways we've done sort of a band-aid treatment to a lot of our infrastructure as opposed to really rebuilding and building it for the long haul. We're at the point now where we really need to start rebuilding and making things modernized and for the long haul. And so we're hoping that we're going to be investing that way, using taxpayer dollars wisely on true infrastructure projects, which are appropriate use of taxpayer funds. So that's another, we have other projects that are similar that were requested, not in Marathon, but other parts of the district dealing with sewage treatment, and that's an issue as well. We have, water seems to be a big one right now in terms of the project, so we're trying to, a lot of those seem to be the focus of the appropriations committee in our process. The ones we submitted, we had to advocate for you. We had to go back and forth, and as you know, we had to submit some of our requests and retailer them to make sure that we were actually getting, what you wanted and what you need. And so we want to make sure we got that across to the committee. And so it's been a process, and thank you for the kind words to my staff, but I know we've been working on this every day since we found out we were going to have the opportunity. to bring the funding directly to our community. So it was to us it was really. I know what it's like to be in the minority, especially in the assembly. So, and we often what people don't realize is a lot of the money in New York State goes to Governor Cuomo, and he gets to decide where the funding goes, not the legislature, not the individuals. Like, we represent our communities, and we can work directly with you, and we want to hear from you, which is why, we were delighted to get hundreds of applications, but, you did a great job. Your people that you represent in your community should be really grateful that they have good representatives, because you did a great job, and you made the top 10 of hundreds of requests. So, I mean, that is really a big point. It's a small area, you're not a hugely populated area, but, we are grateful to you for your leadership and for what you've done, but we have a lot more work to do. This is just the beginning. There's a lot of work to do.
That was pretty much, the mayor took that on. He's the one that should get the feedback from that, because he put the grant together. He's the one that generated this.
We did a great job. I mean, it's hard. Look, they kept giving us a hard time about a lot of them, and they can attest to it. I mean, just back and forth with our staff in DC and also here, and just really trying to make those work for everyone, as many as we can. And obviously, I wanted hundreds of projects to go through, and they only approved 10. So.
Now I would ask, when can we put in a grant for a sewage treatment?
I think that you should be putting that grant in now. I urge everyone. I mean, after I leave here today, a couple of committee votes, but I have to go tour all the damage in Oneida and Herkimer County from the flooding. Also, we had a major tornado go through the town of Western and Oneida County, which is huge damage. And we're having a hard time getting resources for that. But again, our water infrastructure has not been updated in the way that it should have been over the years. And we're struggling with that. And we're struggling with some of the agencies in New York, and also some of the agencies in the federal side that are making it harder for us to fix these things. So I would say, the earlier and the stronger that you advocate for something, the more it's on the top of the mind of our awareness, and we can advocate for you. It's always best to be louder and ahead of everyone. But it just is the facts of life, I look at some of the people that have reached out to me in the last couple of days on our water infrastructure in upstate area, in the upper part of the district, and we pleaded with them. I know the water problems there. My plant was flooded out in Clinton, New York. It cost us $400,000, and guess what? We don't get flood insurance anymore. So thankfully, I sold the building, but. Those types of things are real, but yet I'm like, I know we need water infrastructure. Can you guys submit a project? And many of them didn't submit projects, and so that's the strength of having good leadership. That's the strength of having good people in office who understand what we need to do. So I would say get that sewer treatment project to me and our team as soon as we can, and we'll do what we can to advocate. I don't know if we can get it in this appropriation, but we might be able to get it in next year. Or maybe if another opportunity comes up, we can advocate for it again. But I'm aggressive. I'm aggressive. I want every project to come to this community. I mean, I'm competing against 434 other people, across the country, and I want to make sure that we get everything that we deserve in our communities, because in many ways we've been left behind in New York, I think. And there's no two people that can tell you better now that they're in their first terms in Albany of how tough it is to really get the kind of resources we need in upstate New York. We get left out by the city a lot, and so I think that to get up here, to get the resources we need. I know it's always a struggle when I was in the assembly just to get anything, and you get nothing like it, and it's just not acceptable. We need to grow our businesses. We need to bring people back to our communities, and this type of stuff makes us appealing. I mean, one of the things that we were. Not to get off the topic, but we were actually looking for more broadband access so that people would want to be able to live in our beautiful upstate New York environment and still have access to the broadband and not have to, say, go into a congested area or a city. They can enjoy life here, move back here, buy a house, pay taxes, join our school district, be part of our community again, and bring us back and revitalize us. We think that's an opportunity. If you can get connected. People are moving people are very mobile now. They're teleworking all over the country. You can live in a beautiful place. You don't necessarily have to live in a city. And look at, is there any place more beautiful than upstate New York? And I was just in Texas, I met a bunch of New Yorkers. They moved to Texas, and they're like, God, I miss upstate New York, it's so beautiful. And, you know, what are the complaints? Infrastructure, maybe the internet, taxes, whatever, but there's nothing like it. I mean, we have an absolutely spectacularly beautiful natural environment, and why not? Let's bring people back. Like, we need people to come to our communities.
Thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank you, appreciate your question.
I do have a question. This grant, what would turnaround time be on this?
Good question.
Well, appropriations are due October 1st, so we have to close the budget out then, so it would be this fall.
Now, if the pipe goes in the interim,
And we're still moving forward with the BAN,
Okay.
and bonding. We
so
need
you got a ban.
because of our need to have, wanting to get this done this construction season, yes, we have a BAN in progress.
So we will immediately, when it passes on the floor, we will immediately let everyone know it's a project recipient, and then when it passes on the floor of the Senate, we will let you know. We will also probably let you know if we're having trouble with advocacy to get on the phones and start calling. So we really want these to go through, and we're going to be pushing a lot to get your community, everyone on board.
Thank you.
The more we hear from you and the community, that works. Calling does work, believe it or not. I mean, we try every call that comes into our office. I'd love to hear from more people other than the people in the city of Utica and the city of Binghamton who are are calling about things that not like
Encourage
this.
that to county legislature. Call me.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to hear, just if you need something, call us, let us know. We'll come to your community, we'll do what we have to do. Basically I do this job every day, so luckily my son's going to be 30.
I don't know how you do it.
I don't have, my parents have passed away, so I don't have to take care of them, and I don't have a husband, so I can actually do the job. I love it, it's fun, it's exciting, it's also, it can be brutal at times, but my mission is to try to do what we can for our community. I've lived here, I live across the street from the house I grew up in. So to me, it means a lot to be a New Yorker. Our business was founded in New York, in Sherburne, actually in Hamilton, Norwich, 75 years ago. So we're still in business, and we still want to be here. We want everyone to come back. We have a great place to be. We just need to have people back here. And I know these guys feel the same. I know they're hardcore, strong supporters. Yeah.
So my name's Rebecca Stone, and I'm the superintendent at Marathon. Thank you so much for being here. One of the beauties of living in a small town is that we all work together. When the water went down for all of the residents, but it went down at school as well. And so for 4 additional days, we had to boil our water for all of the students that come to Marathon Central School District. So it really is a big deal. When they put the piping across, we're going to work together and we're going to go through our property. We have we support that in any way we can because we know that we need to be as much a part of this community as everyone else. The central broadband network that you were talking about, we're part of not only the central New York, but the southern New York surveys to see what broadband issues that we have. So that's an excellent thing to be looking at. We have families that still don't get internet and they don't get cell service. So we did have a pocket of kids that didn't have any opportunity to be on the internet for the whole year, and we had to do a little bit of finagling. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us. It's a great place to be. You're welcome to come back anytime. Come visit our school. We'd love to have you.
Well, thank you. Well, Senator Overy was at my broadband event in Sherburne, which is now a test site for broadband and the municipal broadband opportunities, which is something we saw in the executive budget that they were looking for, even 3D broadband even on the municipal level. So the minute we saw that, we thought of Sherburne, and then Sherburne became a test case, and we took advantage of it. They applied for a community grant as well. And it's all part of the whole infrastructure project, but the Farm Bill that we passed in 2018 guaranteed that everyone would have 25 megabits of speed. And in Sherburne and around the rural areas, we either, as you say, have none and might get up to 6. So either children have no access, or seniors can't get to do telehealth. People can't telework, and they're schooling it because they're getting no access. So we want to make sure that we get that, and we want the Sherburne test case to be a test case for our entire region, so that we can all of upstate New York can get connected in an internet and intranet type of way, which is what Sherburne's proposing. It's really interesting. I know the senator was there, but not just that, but the water. All these are basic things that I think we can really, bring our community to. We thank you for working in the school district. We have great schools, and I don't think a lot of people realize just how great our public school system is in New York. We really have one. We probably have the best. really.
One of the things I'd like to point out, Rebecca, too, is I'm the ranking member on Internet and Technologies in Albany, and I don't have internet in the house. So it is a personal as well as very important, as Congressman Tenney has pointed out. And to be able to attend what I was graciously invited to in Sherburne, really kind of setting a precedent and a tone and a blueprint, if you will, to show that sometimes you have to think outside the box. And one of the things that we will be hopefully rolling out here in the 51st Senate District is that same type of a concept. It's that, I refer to us in the 51st as the fighting 51st, because I'm fighting for everything I can possibly get as far as, broadband service, EMS issues that are, across the district. And as both someone in Lamondes and Congressman Tenney can talk to, just funding in general, just to get our SAM grants out that have been already awarded, that have been held back. I mean, there's still grants that we have in our stable, as I call it, since 2017, which is just totally unacceptable. So there's some issues there, but that's one that's personal. So we'll see. Maybe we can't. And being on the education committee, I'm right there. It needs to be. We really need to have this in place for our students without doubt. So.
Well, geography makes a difference.
Sure does.
The hills are what get many of our families. They get down in the valleys and they just can't get anywhere.
And you're right, it is kind of a two-pronged attack, because I do say it's not only broadband, but it is cell service as well. A lot of the district that I have in Delaware County, there's literally like zero cell service. I mean, zero cell. And then if you add, compromised broadband, you have no connection to the outside world in the data, side of things. So it is two-pronged. We're hopefully going to have a couple of proposals, and again, with my cohort here, the 51st Assemblyman Lamondes, I think we can actually make a difference this time. Really do. So, thank you.
There are 8,000 homes in the 126th Assembly District that aren't wired properly. That was the number as of a few months ago. So that just gives you an idea of how bad it is. So we are acutely aware and are working very hard to improve that.
The 2%, right, John, that we heard from our governor, the 2% that we were 98% connected. Well, I dare say, I'll put my 51st Senate District up against that 2%. I think we probably fill most of that. So it's something that we're aware of, and it's not going to be easy. It's probably going to be a longer path, but one, what do they say? The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So we've taken that, and we'll get there. We will get there.
Would we like to give the opportunity to press this? Any questions?
So I was wondering, I pay a lot of attention to the Binghamton Johnson City Joint Wastewater Treatment Plant. That's a long story, as we all know.
They didn't make a request, but they should.
The FEMA money. So a few months ago, they were having issues getting money through the state that I believe FEMA got through them. Were you anybody involved in that process, and would be able to explain your roles in that? If so,
Unfortunately, no.
No one has reached out to us on that and FEMA, but we can look into that. It's obviously, FEMA is a problematic part of, we're dealing with FEMA on a number of levels. Obviously, infrastructure flooding, you may not want to cover any, they only go through municipalities, they don't cover a lot of things. Although we did get a number of things covered in the last passage of the National Flood Insurance Bill. So we got, in that process, we got some amendments in 2018, I believe, that actually got us somewhere with upstate New York. And people, when I go to Washington, people say, how can you have problems with flooding when you don't live in a coastal area? And it's like, because we have terrible infrastructure that has been ignored for so many years that we need to repair it. And a lot of it is in areas where we have, either residential issues or we have businesses. And, unfortunately, the state of New York has interpreted Article 15 of the DEC regulations and prioritized a lot of the fish and wildlife over the human environment, particularly where you have residential and commercial use in places like Ilion, New York, for example, where Remington Arms has been there for over 200 years, other manufacturers, and we can't get DEC to allow us to even like repair some of those areas. So we have this huge flooding problem. I mean, it's a huge infrastructure issue. So that's why, you know, we're constantly trying to get FEMA to be on board with us. We did break through after the floods of 2013, 2017, and we had a little bit of flooding last year when I was in office, but in 13 and 17 we got some. But you know, we still have issues. So FEMA is constantly a process to try to get them to have more flexibility. We did get a tiny amendment in that allowed municipalities and local governments to actually determine where their new flood maps are going to be. So I don't know if you're aware of that, but that was, you would have been given more discretion to be able to make a decision about where your flooding is. Local governments know better than anyone else, which is why I like this community project so much. We don't have somebody in the state, you know, whether it's the governor's office or the president's office, trying to tell us, you know, what we need to do. We know from a grassroots way where our problems are. That's why we were able to have this community come to us and say, this is what we need. And now we're going to have a sewer treatment plant issue coming up next. So, but this is exactly how it should work. It should come from you. We're representing you, and so we're really, you know, we love to be able, the challenge to be able to bring those resources back.
Where was that provision on the localities and the flood
It's
maps?
in the 2018 National Flood Insurance. It's an amendment to the bill. It's not exactly what we wanted, but it was a compromise.
Mhm.
So those are small steps to give a little bit more. They're still not exactly where we need to be, but at least they have a say in the process, where they never had even a say before.
As sort of funding in general from federal going through the state, as far as water infrastructure goes, is that an infrastructure that's on anybody's radar?
Well, I don't know what the state, how the state's going to allocate it. I mean, the state has the largest budget in New York State history, including an additional 12.6 billion that came from the federal government. So I'm not sure exactly how that. Have you seen that? I mean, not to ask a question earlier, but we're still dealing with unemployment insurance claims, which is not a federal issue, but we're accommodating our constituents and working with our local representatives and our state representatives to make sure people get those things answered. We have a huge problem with IRS backlog right now. So a couple of weeks ago, we wrote a letter urging the IRS to get on top of things and get people their money, because it's becoming a problem for a lot of people. They're at risk of not even being able to pay their mortgages. So, you know, there's just a lot of issues, and a lot of this, you know, we're coming off of this pandemic, which has put us all at a huge disadvantage. And it, you know, it particularly impacts smaller, you know, businesses, smaller towns and villages who don't have the resources to fight back and to help. So we want to be a resource in every way we can. I just hear about the IRS thing almost every day. Somebody calls and says, you know, I didn't get my check. It's now July, we're going into August. You know, I submitted my taxes in February and we're not receiving anything. So, you know, there's just, you know, dealing with government bureaucracy is always a challenge. I know that's what these guys do a lot of too. I know when I was in the assembly, there was quite a bit of that.
A good portion every day.
Yeah. So thank you, they're good questions, I appreciate it. Anyone else have anything? Sure.
With your two, either to both of you, with the two original sources that you had for the water, obviously we know one of them did break, one of them still works. Are you going to have the two new plus use the original one? Are you thinking maybe you might want to shut down the original one?
Mike, have you talked to we really had not had a conversation with our engineer about what to do with the current existing old pipe, whether we keep that intact or we want to turn it.
I believe it's not going to be used, the old one's not going to be used at all. We'll be using strictly the two new ones, just based on, because we will be boring under the river, and I just think that they're going to just shut, the old one that is in use right now does have two valves, one on each side. What we probably will end up doing is close off both valves, and then it's always there in case of an emergency. If we had to, if something were to happen, you know, we could always go back to that one. But other than that, I believe it would be strictly the two new pipe that we put through over the river. So
Not.
It's the right direction, because otherwise, you know, that pipe, obviously, we said it's got a life expectancy of shutting it down avoids that midnight phone call when it starts raining, and that breaks, and we're out of water again. So yeah, we'll move on to newer and bigger, better stuff.
If you do decide to use it just in case, use it as a reserve, do you need to test it every so often, or is it like a use
Go
it?
back to it, we would have to somehow inject chlorine, it would have to be tested, we probably would have to go back to a boil water for a short period of time because it hasn't been used. That water could go stale, stagnant, and bacteria could grow in it, so that it would be a process if we ever had to, but the goal is not to, so hopefully with the two new ones, which are gonna be bigger in size, diameter, we will be well off with the two new ones, so.
Okay. Well, thank you both or everyone for answering that.
You're welcome. We appreciate it. Anybody else? I just want to add one thing about community standards. One of the things about our community projects, we imposed our own accountability standards so that we are going to be following up with you to make sure the money goes where it's supposed to go. Make sure that the project is exactly what everybody wants.
No risk there.
We want to make sure that everyone, all the taxpayers, know that we are not only are we using the standard of the that is put forth by the appropriations process, we have an additional standard, which is why some projects didn't make the accountability standard we did. So that was an additional standard that we imposed ourselves in our office. And so I made sure that happened, and we actually had a scoring system and made sure every project had met all the parameters, community buy-in, necessity, and all that. So made sure that this was one of the top projects, obviously. So again, I can't say enough how grateful I am to your community and your leadership, especially you, Mayor, for really being there, and the support that we get from our other elected officials throughout the region. It's been tremendous. Have you have one more question?
Not one for the mayor, but the group.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Have you ever considered, and has Marathon ever discussed privatizing infrastructure, privatizing water and sewer? It has happened across the state. Binghamton has had that conversation a number of times. And what's the line on that? Because it's a cost issue.
Have we as a board discussed it? No. Has it been an idea that's been floated to me by others? Yes. Am I comfortable with privatizing, taking out of our control what Mike does for us and the staff? No. I would have to. It'd be a long road. That'd be the right thing to do.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you for coming to our home. I do appreciate this, everybody. And I hope to see you again. Everybody knows what my contact is. Just over me. And I will be talking to Congressman
Not just right away, but
staff.
to be under community use may not be accessible.
Stay connected. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.